You know, every day I get asked by people, how can I get my first push-up? Like they really want to get a push-up. They say, I'm not good at them, or I've tried and I never can get them, I'm doing something wrong, whatever. But they want to get that first push-up. And I think that's a great goal to have, because I think push-ups are one of the best exercises you can do for overall strength. I know it gets lost in the shuffle with some more glamorous kind of exercises like deadlifts and bench presses and things like that, but I love push-ups because you can do them anywhere. You can make them super, super difficult, and you can gain a crap ton of strength from push-ups. So I love push-ups. And I think progressing push-ups, if you start the right way, you can get into a logical pattern of progression, and it makes getting a push-up a little bit simpler. Not easy, but simpler. So what I like to tell people to do is the best way to start push-ups is to start with your hands elevated, in either on a wall or on a bar, like I'm going to show you here in a second. Just elevated up off the ground. So many times we see people starting their push-ups from their knees, like this. And while there's inherently nothing wrong with that at all, to have you start your push-ups with your hands elevated, because there's ways to progress the elevation of the hands. You can bring the hands down lower and lower and lower until you're on the ground. It's a nice smooth progression. When you're on your knees, there's just not a lot of progression between your knees and your toes. You just go from one to the other, and there's a huge gap of strength that you need to have to get from your knees to your toes, with nothing to work on in the middle necessarily that's going to help you too much. Can you progress from your knees to your toes? Yes, you can. And I'm sure people do all the time. I just think it's a little more logical to start with your hands up elevated. And the other reason I love that so much is because when you elevate your hands, you are allowing your body to be in the normal push-up position that you're going to be in when you're on the floor. When you're on your knees, you can't do that. You can't engage your body the same way. So being able to practice how to engage your body and how to keep your body tight when you do a push-up is going to pay dividends as you bring your hands down, and by the time you are ready for the floor, you will have your technique down perfectly. So the transition, I think, is just a little bit easier. That being said, you can certainly go from your knees, but today I'm going to talk about how to do it from elevating your hands and how to work your way down. Okay? So I'm going to start, I'm in this exercise room, and I'm going to start with this bar. There's a bar going across the room, and that's what I'm going to use as the first place to elevate our hands. Okay? So when we come over to the bar, hands are on the bar. You don't want to be too far back like this because we have nowhere to go. So what you have to do is walk your feet in, and you're going to have to find that sweet spot for you. The goal is to get your chest to the bar. So once you find the position, you'll naturally be able to hop into that position from muscle memory and stuff. But finding it at first might be a little tricky. So you want to make sure your chest is over the bar. You want your body tight. And by tight, I want you to do 3 things. This is how we get our body tight. I want you to brace your abs like somebody's going to punch you in the gut. I want you to squeeze your glutes super hard. And then I want you to send your shoulders back and down to your back pocket and keep them there. Now that's the hardest one to keep intact, because when we push up, we tend to kind of slump over if we don't keep those engaged. So here's a way to think about that. Think about if you had a grapefruit in your armpit and you had to squeeze it. That right there is what your shoulders are going to be feeling like when they're packed back and down. So think about grapefruits in your armpits. All right? So we've got abs, we've got glutes, we've got shoulders. All 3 of those super tight. All right? So we're going to get set up. I got my abs, my glutes, my shoulders. Now I'm going to lower my chest to the bar and come up. Watch what my elbows are doing. My elbows are at 45 degrees. They are not like this. I see this a lot. And what happens when your elbows flare out? First of all, it's really hard on the shoulder, really hard on the elbow. That usually comes as a result of your shoulders wanting to help out a little bit with this move, because your core strength isn't quite there to kind of handle the load yet. It will be, but maybe not yet. We do want to practice 45 degrees because getting out of this is going to be kind of tough. So from the get-go, get your hands at 45 degrees. And the other thing about this position, if you think of it this way, if you need to push something in front of you, you are not going to be way out here with your arms pushing. This is how my elbows were flared out in a push-up. This is not where we go to get power. I have no leverage in this position at all, none. We always naturally go here. This is how we're going to push something. And if you look at this is where I want your elbows on a push-up. 45 degrees, not 90 degrees. We have more power here. We get our power center right here, okay? So back to the bar. Our body's nice and tight. We got the abs, glutes, shoulders, and our elbows are going to stay at 45 degrees as I lower my chest to the bar. You want to go for about 6 to 8 reps, whatever you can muster. Make sure when you do this, we're not letting our belly come first. We're keeping everything nice and tight. And if you can't lower all the way to the bar, go as far as you can. And if you need to go even higher than the bar, what I would recommend is just go to a wall and start there. And a lot of people don't like to do that. I think they feel like it's less than or it's not as good as. And let me tell you something, if you need to go to the wall and get your technique down there, because it's going to make the rest of the progression so much easier for you. And you're going to be smarter to do it that way than not master technique and keep trying to progress. Okay, so technique all the time takes priority, all the time. So do whatever you need to do, whether your hands are on a wall or your hands are on a bar, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to progress down to this step. Now there's a lot of distance between these two, and normally it would be great to have something right here in the middle maybe to progress to, but for the purposes of this video I'm just going to go down to this step, but ideally you would want to progress maybe not quite this low as your next progression. But let me show you what this is going to look like. This is a step with 4 risers on either side. Same principle, we're going to engage all 3 parts, the glutes, the abs, and the shoulders. We're going to lower our chest to the box, elbows at 45, body is nice and tight. Okay? And then you'd be ready to come down to the floor to finish it off. Now, one thing to consider here is how many sets and reps and all that kind of thing. The more you practice push-ups, the better you're going to get at push-ups. So if you only are practicing them once a week, that's probably not enough if you want to start seeing some change. Try 2-3 times a week, 3 sets, maybe 6 to 8 reps, something like that, and then you can increase your reps as you go. That would be a great place to start. Now, if you belong to a gym, your gym probably has what's called a Smith machine. A Smith machine is like a big squat rack with a bar that slides up and down. The bar doesn't come off. It like hooks on to different positions, but it slides on this bar up and down. That Smith machine is a great place to practice your push-ups because you can set the bar as high as you want, as you need, and then you can lower it 1 step at a time until you're probably about this high off the ground, and then you can get to a step and then down to the ground. So the Smith machine provides progressions built in, just built-in progressions from one notch down to the other. So that's a great option in your gym. If you're at home, you can use steps on a staircase. You can use a couch down to an ottoman or a coffee table, something like that. And again, don't ever discount using a wall. A wall's great. Start building up that 45-degree angle and that push, and practice getting those shoulders back. Practice bracing here. Practice your glutes. All of that work is going to make your progression faster. So hands elevated, wherever you have to start, and work your way down. Great way to do push-ups. If you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments below. Let me know how you're doing on your push-ups. I would love to know. I will be posting another video with a bunch of push-up variations that you can try. Once you get down on the ground and you've got some strength built up, they are a ton of fun. Some of them are so hard, but boy, do they ever build up strength and some muscle definition, and they're great. So stay tuned for that. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you all for being here. And again, let me know if you have any questions. Take care.